15 years ago, I spent a year studying in Chicago, and I was really confronted by the level of homelessness in the city. That pretty much every street corner in the city centre had homeless people, usually men, usually African American, begging for money on every corner. I think my reaction was like that of many people, which was firstly just to want to ignore it all, just to put my head down and not make eye contact and just rush past them. Other times I felt like I wanted to donate, I wanted to do something to help them, but really doubted, will $1 or $2 make a difference? Will it even be well used if I do give that money? So one day I decided I would spend the time to actually try to understand homelessness in the city. So I decided to go and engage with a few people. So I went up to the first homeless man I saw, asked for money. I said, my name's Jim, can I buy you lunch today? And this man's name was Reggie, and I still remember him kind of, terrible kind of old, unwashed clothes, kind of a Rastafarian kind of a beanie on, because Chicago's a cold city. And we went over and I bought him a burrito, the biggest, most overstuffed burrito we could find. And as Reggie devoured that burrito, because clearly he was really hungry that day, he told me a bit of his life story and what kind of led to him being homeless. And at the end of the meal, he then offered me his cup full of coins, which was mainly nickels and dimes, 5 and 10 cent pieces, said, "You've bought me lunch, so let me give you this." I said, "Look, no, don't give me that. You keep it. You're going to need it tomorrow." He said, "Man, oh man, this is my lucky day." And just the level of gratitude Reggie had, that one act of kindness had been done to him that day, gave me a sense of what kind of desperation those people who live in homelessness must live all the time. Well, 15 years later, here in Sydney, I think the level of homelessness has really matched what Chicago had 15 years ago. Both the visible homeless, those who are indeed on street corners within the city begging for money, but also the invisible homeless, those we don't see, but those who are living in cars, living in tents, not just individuals, but whole families sometimes, living in incredibly precarious ways. We may not see them, but they are there because the level of poverty is increasing on so many fronts. And that tells us that the words of Jesus in today's gospel, in Jesus' famous parable of the sheep and the goats, which he speaks to, and we're given on this feast of Christ being the King, tells us that Jesus' commands are more urgent now than ever. So many of Jesus' parables, they require a bit of understanding, a bit of nuance of understanding culture and language and history to sort of understand what the whole point of the parable is. Not this one. This one is so very clear that anyone can understand from the first time they hear it. We are to feed the hungry and the thirsty. We are to clothe the naked, to welcome the stranger, to visit the sick and visit the imprisoned. And Jesus makes this not just an optional extra of the Christian life. It's a commandment he gives us that we are all bound to. And he makes it an intrinsic part of the Christian life, saying that when we do these things, we do them to him. And when we fail to do them, we fail to do them to him. These actions are part and parcel of our relationship with Jesus. And Jesus makes it clear through this parable being a parable of judgment given to us here at the end of the church's year, that this is one of the criteria in which our eternity will be judged. This really matters. Happily, I can look around our church and say that there are many ways in which we as a church collectively, we do fulfill Jesus' commands. Through the St. Paul Society, we do indeed feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Through our support of Jesuit refugee services, we do this in even a more particular way for those refugees and asylum seekers for whom poverty and precarious housing is even more acute. Through our ministers of community of the sick, we visit those who are sick, those who are housebound, and in many parishes this takes place in hospitals as well. And in our parish, we have a particular ministry of visitation to a women's prison in Sydney, in which wonderful caring, counselling work is done there as well. So collectively, we do these things. We are doing Jesus' commands. This weekend, we are given an opportunity to support those many ministries. That we, through the Angel Tree at Epping, we're invited to buy gifts to support, basically to give to the women prisoners who are able to then give them to their children. Here at Carlingford, we're able to give youth through the Angel Tree, buy gifts for the children of women in Parramatta Women's Shelter. And every month we take up a collection for Jesuit Refugee services for particular foodstuffs and grocery items that go to those who are also in precarious need. And next weekend, you'll hear the invitation from the St. Paul Society to support financially their twice-yearly appeal, this being, of course, the Christmas appeal. So we have ways in which we collectively can support these wonderful works. But there is no magic people out there who do this on our behalf. This is members of our parish who are doing these things. This is people who have heard the call of Jesus through this parable and through other messages to take it on personally. They hear when Jesus says, when you did this to the least of my brothers and sisters, you did this to me, who felt drawn by their relationship and love for Jesus to want to join the Vincent de Paul Society, to want to take communion of the sick, to want to join the work of Jesuit Refugee services. And so I put that invitation to you as well. While we collectively need to work financially, and we are very generous as a parish, and I'm sure we'll be that again, we need people to be the ones who become the hands and feet of Jesus' mercy in these ways. The St. Vincent de Paul Society, the main work in a local parish like ours, is that you visit always in pairs, never alone, you're always with someone else. You visit someone in their home, someone who has reached out to Vinnie's asked for help. So you go visit them in their home situation so you can compassionately and accurately assess what kind of help they truly need and then work out the program to give them that support. That support often includes specialised financial counselling to help people get out of any cycle of debt they might be in. It is truly wonderful work, and St. Vincent de Paul always needs more visitors, more volunteers. And if you hear this message, that means you. Could you this year, in this coming year, could this be the ministry that you take up and be part of? This weekend, there's one more ministry we are also appealing for. The 6 things we mentioned there, feeding the hungry and the thirsty, clothing the naked, welcoming the stranger, visiting the homeless and visiting the prisoned, are known in the church as the corporal or physical works of mercy. They have a particular place in the church's list of virtuous actions. But they're also matched by another list called the spiritual works of mercy, which have a number of good things, but primary among them is to instruct the ignorant, that is, to teach those who don't yet know Jesus. And in that context, this weekend you're going to hear an appeal, again, which we do twice a year, to invite you to become a catechist teaching in a state school. We have the extraordinary opportunity that in our parish that we don't have in many parts of the world, indeed not even all parts of Australia, that we have access to go as Catholics and other Christians to visit state schools and to give a half-hour or 1 hour scripture lesson, to teach children in our parish. It's 9 schools, 9 state schools, to teach children who might not hear from anybody else the message of Jesus. We have the opportunity and the privilege to go and be those teachers for them. It is hard work. No one denies the challenge that is, but the payoff, the importance is immeasurable. Because unless we actually have a church full of evangelized people, a church full of people who have heard the message of Jesus, want to follow him, want to take action, then all those other physical works of mercy, they will disappear because there will be no one to do them. So in many ways, all those physical works of mercy we hear of in the gospel today really hang on the mission of evangelization. That unless we continue to spread the word of Jesus, these things will no longer be done. So the challenge is to you. Could you be involved in the physical works of mercy through the works of St. Vincent de Paul or other great agencies in our parish? Or could you be involved in the spiritual work of mercy of teaching scripture in a state school? This weekend, you'll hear that invitation here at our parish, and I invite you, hear the words of Jesus, and invite you to respond.